Well, hello random YouTube people. Are you tired of having to disconnect your battery to trickle charge it, perhaps for the winter time? Well, let me show you how to add a quick connect for your trickle charger, which is a simple plug-and-play solution instead of having to disconnect your battery every single time. Let me show you how to do it and just how easy it is. Cue those video titles. Subscribe. Thank you for joining me today on another episode of DIY Bry, where we are going to add a quick connect to our trickle charger for our battery. Well, what is a trickle charger? For an automotive battery, a trickle charger is used to maintain the battery's charge level at a slow, steady rate, which prevents significant depletion, and it also extends the battery's lifespan, especially when vehicles are not in use, like during the wintertime, for example. Here you can see I am plugged into trickle chargers for my two 12-volt batteries for my trailer. I bring these inside so that they are out of the cold, and they are recommended to be put up off the ground somewhere, like on a piece of wood or something, so it's not directly touching the concrete. You might be well aware of this because it's a pain to have to disconnect these batteries every single year and reconnect them. But it is different in an automotive application, like this RZR, an ATV, a motorcycle, or a car. Having a battery quick connect means you never have to take the battery out of the vehicle to charge it. So that is why we are going to add a battery quick connect for our trickle charger. Now enough chit chat, let's get on to the install. Now we will need to disconnect the battery one last time to add the quick connect. Now I hope this goes without saying, but you're going to want to make sure your vehicle is not on before you do this. We are going to disconnect the negative or the black terminal first. If you disconnect the positive, you run the risk of shorting your battery or sending sparks flying. Like this. So, don't do that. So remember, when disconnecting a battery, always do the negative terminal first. Now each battery is a little different. It depends on how your connections are connecting to the terminals. In my case, they are held on by a couple of bolts. So I'm just taking my socket wrench and I'm going to loosen the nuts to be able to pull this off the terminal. With the negative lead disconnected, we can now move on to the positive lead. This one has a dust jacket and also prevents you touching it accidentally. But now with it moved out of the way, we can just loosen the nut just like we did the other side. You can see I have a microfiber cloth leaning up against this little piece of the RZR. That is what caused the sparks earlier, is the socket wrench touched that piece, so now I'm covering it with a microfiber cloth. Now just fast forwarding to disconnect. With that bolt loosened, I can now disconnect the positive terminal. Now it is time to add our quick connect. When re-hooking up the battery to power, you actually start with the positive first and then go to the negative. So I'm going to start with the positive line for my quick connect. You can see right now I'm just holding up the positive line and I'm going to further loosen off that nut so I can add the red part of the quick connect to this terminal. With that nut removed, you can now put the red line for the quick connect onto the terminal. Just drop it onto the bolt here and then replace the screw. Now this side is a little bit more tricky because the red side has a cover over it. Were you to do it this way, you might run into some complications. Now you can see if you add the quick connect to the bolt, you can't push down this little cover for the terminal. So what we're going to do is run it through from the back side of the cover. So you can see it meets up with the screw this way instead. It's much nicer, and you won't have that issue pulling over the dust jacket like I just showed. Now putting the nut back on, and simply reconnect to the positive terminal. I've gone ahead and reconnected it, and you can see I can just pull the cover right on over now, and there's no conflict. On to the negative side. And like we just did for the positive side, we're going to take the black lead for the quick connect and attach it to the bolt for the negative lead to the battery. Tighten down the nut, put it on the terminal, and that's all we have to do. As you can see, this is really quite easy to add. And that is all you need to do. Our quick connect is hooked up to both terminals. So now we have this nice little plug. You can see that there's a dust cover on the one side so that it doesn't get dirty. And when we're ready to charge our battery tender, we just hook up the other end to it. Don't you just love it when things are simple and easy? I do. With our battery hooked up to the trickle charger, we're now ready to plug it in and charge it, in this case, over the winter. Well, you can see I have the cord ran from the back seat, which is where the battery is, through the front seat window And I'm going to plug it into my cool workbench area that I added with a plug outlet. This is where I charge all of my other batteries for my lawnmower, for my snowblower, and I'm just going to plug it in right here and leave it trickle charging for the winter. Keep that battery nice and good and have it ready to go for the next time I use it next season. Or if I want to play with the RZR on the street when it snows, that too. Thank you so much for watching. If you found any part of this video helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with all of your friends, give me a comment, and be sure to subscribe. Subscribe.